Rohan Browning, thank you for joining us on Perceived Pressure. How are you, mate?
It's a joy to be here. It's great to be back in Newtown.
You've been all over the world lately. What's it like, I guess, coming home after running away to, what was it, last Tokyo?
Yeah, I've been overseas for maybe like 3 or 4 months this year in total, which is pretty common in this sport. Last stop was Tokyo for the World Championships. Glad to be back home. I had a few weeks off. It's been a very sedentary few weeks, and now I'm into week 3 of the off season.
It's very structured then. It is week 3, week 4. You have your life planned out week by week, block by block.
Definitely, we have the macro cycles, and we got these like little micro cycles week by week. You know, I'm doing 4-week training blocks. So, actually 3-week training blocks, and so I start the next cycle next week.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And every cycle, the stimulus changes a little bit. We focus on different things, and we progress from a very, very general outlook, very broad brushstrokes, building more like general athletic qualities. Things get increasingly specific as we get towards the season.
Yeah, right. And what are you building toward? What kicks off your season next year, I guess, presumably?
In terms of competitions?
Yeah.
There'll be some commitments with the national relay team through like January, February, March. And then I think individually, I would like to run in Perth in February. And then the main piece is the national championships in April, World Relay Championships in May, and then the Commonwealth Games in July.
So have you got, this is what I'm curious about is, I guess, when you talk about like building training, you build up to we talk about like marathon runners often talk about, like often if you're training a first timer especially, they don't run the full 42 Ks sort of in the lead up to a marathon. They essentially rely on endurance to get them across the line. Rely on adrenaline to get them across the line. Presumably that's not the case for professionals. But is there a sense of you're building to a meet, or you're building to, I guess when you've got meet after meet after meet, or month after month, is there a sense of, I guess, a different training load for, let's say, Com Games in, July, versus national champs in April, or, you know, in 2 years down the track being the Olympics? Is it 2 years? 26 to 20? Yeah, so 2 years from the start of next year. Is there a sense of, I guess, how different those training loads are when you've got when you're a week out from a meet and you've just had one, or a month out from a meet and you've just had one, versus being now, 4 months out from the start of the season? Yeah,
definitely. The material of the training is very, very different. Year on year, there's always a major championship every year. So it's either an Olympics, World Champs, or for us, a Commonwealth Games as well.
And that is major. It's not what did Usain Bolt call it? The shit Olympics?
I don't know. The Aussie Olympics, maybe. That's what Curtis Marshall always calls it, because he just cleans up there every year in the pole vault. And so do the swimmers, you know. But I mean, to be honest, in the 100-meter event, as well as in the marathon, in most of the track events, it's still a very strong competition, because you still have, you know, Jamaica, you still have, you know, England, Canada, you know, as well as a lot of African countries, Kenya. So yeah, the quality of the competition is still very, very stiff. But in terms of like the week by week training loads, right now everything is like sort of much higher volume for me, just building those more general athletic qualities, trying to squat through greater depth, like build greater strength through different ranges of motion, that sort of thing, which I haven't really done in a long time. I was listening to an interview you did a little while ago now, and you talked about how you don't squat to a great deal of depth, and the type of physicality is very different. I think you described yourself as a neuroskeletal athlete versus an elastic or a fascia-based athlete. How does that work? What kind of benefit are you trying to get out of like squatting deeper, for example, or squatting heavier? Well, I mean, so traditionally I've come from this system where we would just be like training extremely specifically, basically all year round, and there would be some deviation, but like that was really the philosophical basis for the training. And so if you think when you sprint, you know, you want those maximal outputs through very, very shallow knee flexion angles and hip flexion angles. So for us, as long as I could quarter squat an ungodly amount, like I'd be fine, you know, and I'd be getting this really, really pertinent like central nervous system load that would elicit a really good adaptation. Now I'm working with a different coach and sort of have approaching.
Is different.
Yeah, well, we're just approaching things with a different, from a different sort of philosophical standpoint, and so we really want to work my start out.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest gap. Like the first 3 steps, clearing out of the blocks, the biggest gap between me and the best guys in the world. And so we're trying to really, really work on that. And that's a much more aggressive, like knee flexion angle. If you think like, that's a fancy technical way of saying like your knee's bent more, right? If you think
you watch like a Noah Lyles, his knee is low, like that ankle is really flexed.
Exactly. So like the angle of the knee is like maybe almost 90 degrees. Probably the front knee would be like maybe a little more than that. But I need to be strong through that range. And so we're trying to develop that. We're trying to just build the chassis to withstand a bit more racing next season and all the travel. So I think, we're trying to like deliberately put on a bit more muscle and that sort of thing as well. So just, I think different priorities at different ends of the season. As we progress towards competition, things will become very, very specific. The rest will drag out. I'll probably be moving through shallower ranges, doing more like explosive plyometric type stuff. And that's the work that is my bread and butter and that I really, really love. But I've got to say, I really enjoy doing this more general sort of athletic stuff because you just become so specific in this sport. Like, I wouldn't play touch footy, I wouldn't sidestep or do anything like that, because I wouldn't want to blow my knee out.
Yeah.
You just become so good at like running in a straight line, and in some ways you sort of like miss that feeling of being like generally really athletic.
Running for the sake of running, wind in the hair stuff.
Oh, I don't get any. I don't do sport for joy ever. I don't go and work out for joy. In the off season last year, I did an F45 class and a Barry's boot camp class. Like, it was not a particularly joyful experience for me, But look, it was good novelty. But I think when that's like your job and it's so structured and, your whole life is really like structured around each sort of training unit per day, it definitely strips the joy out of it. But having said that, I don't want to be too pessimistic because I'm very lucky getting to be a professional athlete, and I actually do love it day to day. And I've really found a bit of that love for it this year, just doing some different things. Even simple stuff like getting on the elliptical for like 30 minutes and then getting in the sauna for 30 minutes, just to get a bit of a sweat up and, actually prioritize some like cardio and aerobic capacity.
Where do you get the joy from it now?
I love competing. I love competing because I just love tapping into that dog, and I love being the man in the arena. Yeah. Like, as trite as that sounds, I love that. I think that like nothing really gets me emotional like sports.
Yeah.
You're
a romantic.
Do you know what? Most people would deny that, but I think I have a romantic streak in me.
Yeah.
But it just really comes out in sports.
Yeah.
Like, because I can really empathize with it, and I just love that you grind for something with really no guarantees, and that you just do that in the hope that you give yourself a chance, and maybe it will convert to success and maybe it won't. But I think there's a lot of value in that struggle and the striving, like there's value in the striving, and I just love it,
I guess I'm curious about, because Australians, the public doesn't, we talk about the value in the striving, but I feel like, and you and I, are both cricket guys, so I feel like we have a sense of, nothing except, 5-0 in the Ashes this summer is acceptable, right? Is there a sense you get of the public's appetite for anything less than, and especially at the Olympics or the Com Games, anything less than gold? Do you feel like it passes you by a little bit if you don't go out and, if you're not out there winning every meet and every tournament, every meet? Do you feel like it passes you by a little bit?
I've definitely had the feeling.
Or love?
Well, not so much the love. I would say look, the World Championships this year, for example, around 10-19, I think, which was, for me, it was actually really disappointing because I had my best season ever on paper, and I actually think I went into that championship in the best shape that I've been in for a championship, and I actually think I underperformed. And I got run out in the first round. But the way that the automatic qualifications fell, I ran faster than six of the 24 guys who made the semi-final. So it's like a quarter of the field. So, you know, at some level, I was objectively good enough to go through to the semi and try to like keep progressing through the rounds. And I got a little unlucky with the way that the seeding fell. But also, I didn't get unlucky because, you know, I should have come top 2 in my heat or whatever it was to like get the auto qual. So I think when you walk away from a championship like that and the whole year's been building to it and you feel like you did everything right and you've just like you just underperformed like marginally because it doesn't take much in this event. Yeah, you definitely feel like this is an opportunity that passed me by. But I've never felt like the love of the public or something has passed me by because I think that generally that attitude towards like your first place or your last in Australia exists very strongly, but not really in my event because I think generally people maybe appreciate that we don't have the history in the 100 meters. Maybe there's like not a strong history of success, and so nobody really expects you to win. Do you know what I mean? That was why in Tokyo when I won my heat, that got like blown up so out of proportion to like whatever the achievement was, because you know in my mind I just made it out of the first round, but I'm here to try to make the final. You know, and I didn't even do that. But I think the public appreciates that if you're in the top 8 fastest men in the world, that's like an incredible human feat of athleticism. But from the athlete's perspective, if you're not in that like top 8, you don't even have a chance of winning a medal. Like, what are you doing it for if not to be there? So anything less than that is basically a failure. And I don't necessarily think any self-respecting athlete turns up to a major championship and thinks, you know, and they get run out in the first round and thinks, I'm so glad that I just got to the start line. Like maybe under circumstances where you've had a really interrupted preparation. Like I sort of felt shades of that leading into the Paris Olympics because I just hadn't raced all year. And when I had, I was like running through injury. And so I barely scraped qualification. And the only reason I made it was because somebody like tested positive for drugs and got dropped out of the world ranking quota. So at some level I was lucky to be there. I was far from my best. And I actually got a lot of, even though it was a terrible competition for me, I got a lot of enjoyment from being there. And that was probably the only time in my life, okay, I'll walk back what I said slightly. This is the only time in my life I've ever thought, you know, I'm actually happy to be here at some level. But
I feel like Paris is one of those places. I mean, this is the romance part of it. I was there as well. I was there for the first weekend. And it's hard to be romantic when you're struck down with food poisoning and you can't get out to the opening ceremony.
It's so unfortunate.
But there's this sense of, oh, okay, we're in our mid-20s. We're in this beautiful, I'd never been to Paris at this point. So it's like we're in this beautiful part of the world, this beautiful Olympic city. They've done it in a way that really only the Europeans can. And you're not really going to get that again. LA is a very different vibe. And I guess if as an athlete, you have a relatively short career span as a sprinter. I guess if you get to Brisbane, then how old will you be in Brisbane? Early 30s.
In Brisbane, I think it'll be like 33 or 34.
Yeah, so it's still a hypothetical.
Hey, it's possible, yeah. Well, I mean, Kim Collins ran his PB in the 100 metres in 40.
Yeah, jeez.
You know, and athletes are going longer and longer. So, like, I definitely see...
And then Brisbane's home.
Brisbane's home.
In theory.
Yeah, so I think there's definitely this hypothetical situation where maybe it's not even that hypothetical where I'd love to be running in Brisbane.
Yeah.
You know? But for me, it all depends. I think every year for me is like a passing condition for the next year because I've been to enough major championships and been run out in the first round. Like I don't need to just go to an Olympics and
for the sake of going.
Yeah, like it doesn't, not when the opportunity cost of how I could be spending my time gets increasingly higher as you get older. So, I think one thing that's been really good for me is the emergence of guys like Gout and Lockie Kennedy who are just so strong and they've helped me refine hunger that I haven't necessarily had in a while.
Is there... And I guess actually let's talk about that then. Is there a sense, again, from the public of like, the public loves a new toy, right? Like the public loves this, here's this new thing, Gout or Lockie Kennedy or whoever it might be. And it's new and it's different, the shapes are different. It's like, okay, this is something that I'm really excited about now. is there, what's it, and now they all of a sudden start talking about it as we're in this golden age of Australian sprinting. What is it like? You sort of preempted that a little bit, or ushered it in terms of what happened in Tokyo. How do you feel being amongst that? Is that where the attention of the public appears to be from the outside? I don't know how you feel about this. I'd love to know how you feel about it internally. But the attention was in 2021 and 2022, and I guess all the way until about last year, this, like, the fastest guy in the country is the Flying Mullet. It's a white guy from Sydney. And now it's the attention, if you think about Australian sprinting, is, I thought the fastest guy in the country was this kid from Queensland. What's it like being amongst that?
I think that is just the game. Like, the media cycle moves so fast, and every year you have to perform, or you're thrown by the wayside. You're with the chaff, you know. So I think you're only as good as your last race, almost. And look, for Lockie and Goud in particular, like, a lot of this attention and, like, recognition is really warranted. Lockie's run sub 10. He's the second fastest Australian ever. Goud is obviously a prodigious talent. You know, so, like, I think these are guys who actually, like, deserve it. Yeah, I mean, look, for me, post Paris Olympics, I came very close to retiring, in all honesty, just because, like, I had a professional contract that was up at the end of that year. I didn't know if I'd be able to re-sign it. Like, it's not like I had any leverage, you know, with the sponsors, and I was very lucky that my sponsors backed me again. But other people aren't so lucky, and, you know, their career is ended much sooner than they would think.
What pulled you back from that brink?
I think I was caught in the trap of comparing myself to, like, where my mates were at, because I think through my, like, early to mid 20s, I could do the sport professionally and, like, travel, and it was great. Like, it was the dream. So why, and, you know, you're making money doing it, so, like, why would you want to be grinding at a bank or a law firm or something, getting just pumped?
Which was a very, very real threat for both of us.
And, like, why would you do that and get pumped when I could be, like, spending the European summer in Italy and traveling and competing and getting paid to do it? But, you know, the economy of track and field is also harsh. Like, you have professional contracts which, you know, will have, like, bonuses and deductions. So, you know, your, like, earning potential will change year on year based on how you perform. Like, there's not many jobs as well where I think your value as an athlete and your, like, earning potential and, like, what the public thinks of you sums you up as is sort of determined essentially once every 4 years at the Olympics. And, you know, if you're injured or you've had a bad prep or you get sick a couple of days before or whatever it is, and you underperform, you know, you're sort of written off. So I think that's what makes it really cutthroat. That's what makes every year like a passing condition for the next year. And I actually had a great piece of advice that was given to me by John Eales.
Yeah.
Which was he just told me, like, do sport for as long as you want to do it. And don't quit until you really want to. Because, you know, you do have this narrow window in life to pursue it. And whatever comes after sport will still be there. And, like, my parents had told me that, and mates had told me that. But when it comes from John Eales, it's different. You know, like, it definitely,
it's very different.
It hits differently. So I really appreciated that mentorship.
Is that something you've got? Sorry, is that something you've got in terms of the team you keep around you? Are those the kinds of people that you keep around you? You sit there and you've got mentors in rugby, for example, or out of rugby or out of other sports that you sort of really value?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the longest standing mentors I've had is with Steve Waugh. Like, he's just brilliant, and he's the Iceman. So
How did that happen?
We went to just through like a connection through school, and then through a Pilates studio we're both going to. Helen Stamatakos, Pilates Instinct.
Oh, this is the viral where she gets all the rugby league players and she just kills them.
Honestly, if there's a secret cabal running the world, Helen's in on it. She's part of it. Like, she's just running such a network. So
yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Now I've got I don't know if that's an image I want in my head, but that's now I've got Steve Waugh in
Doing
my head.
Pilates.
Doing Pilates in my head now.
Hey, he's an athlete, you know. He's an athlete, and he's tough as nails, and he's just been able to give me some great advice over the years as well, which has been really, really good. Yeah, and I guess I've just been lucky, like being an athlete, like through the network that you sort of naturally develop, to be able to meet some people who've been receptive to just give me a bit of their time, and I've been really appreciative of that.
Is that something you actively seek out? Are you? I guess I'm curious what you initially thought someone like, for example, like a Steve Waugh can give you as a runner.
I think just people who are really like driven by good values and principles, you know, usually they apply quite broadly. Sport to sport doesn't necessarily matter. Like, I'm not going to necessarily ask him for technical advice, but I just think there's a lot in life, like, that you can learn from some of these people, and, you know, Steve in particular. And sport is very philosophical, I think, because of the competitive nature of it, like, it really squeezes you. And so to have a career that has any sort of longevity to it, you need to figure out your sort of life philosophy pretty quick and figure out what you value. And, you know, as life sort of changes around you and you're doing the same thing, which is relatively monotonous, you know, and the travel all of a sudden goes from being such a fun novelty to being like a bit of a grind, and maybe like it might become tough. You have to figure out a way to like draw energy from that rather than let it sort of drain you of energy. So yeah, but maybe I'm more philosophical than most athletes. I don't know.
I guess I'm curious about this. We spoke a little bit at the start about like you're working on your start. You're working on that first phase. I guess talk me through. Is there a frustration you have with? I was going back through researching this interview. I was going back through all the records, and you know, the race by race numbers and so on. And I guess, is there a sense? Do you have any strong feelings about, I guess, that PB of Tokyo, you know, 4 years ago, and then I guess matched recently? Is there a frustration with everyone's sort of estimation, or maybe your own estimation, of your ability being this PB that you had 4 years ago? Do you attach yourself to that number?
Not really, because I think in my mind, my inner optimist tells me I'm a lot better than that.
Yeah.
You know, but I think also the inner pragmatist tells me I'm only as good as my last run. So, you know, maybe the truth is somewhere in between. And I think like that's just part of the sport and the reality of it. I think, yeah, you want to be driven by this like optimism and a drive to achieve something. So like for me, I want the Australian record 993. Like I've run sub 10:10 more times than any Australian. You know, that cluster of performances at a given level, I think usually lends itself to a big breakthrough at some point. And you just need to keep chipping away until you get there. And don't get me wrong, like I am a pragmatic person. I think maybe athletes are driven by some sense of delusion, but like I got a very pragmatic family. I just come from that sort of pragmatism, and I don't think that I'm a deluded person. But I do think that I'm a deeply like optimistic person, and you know, like we said, maybe I have that like romantic streak in me, and that belief that anything's possible. You definitely need that in sport.
Speaking of what's possible, okay, let's say you got your start to where you want it to be. Hypothetically, how much time can that take out from where you're at?
I mean, I think...
Or is that like a how long's a piece of string question?
Definitely, because the efficiencies that you unlock in the first 3 strides might really affect the deceleration at the back end of the race. So I think there's just like many different moving pieces to the race. You know, as much as it just seems like one maximal effort, one maximal sprint, there's actually many, many different pieces that you need to pull together perfectly to run to the best of your ability. And then you need to do it under maybe like tapered conditions so that your body's like fresh and your nervous system's fresh and capable of like putting out a more maximal sort of power output. And, you know, maybe you do it at altitude with a 2 meter tailwind, and it's just like the ideal conditions. And look, some people, like I think 10:01 is actually a pretty conservative PB for me because like some people have PBs run under like kind of dubious conditions and then they're massive outliers and then they never come close to it again. You know, whereas I've run 10:01 twice, I've run 10:02, 10:05, 10:07, like, so I've been very consistent there. And I think that the breakthrough is coming if I do all the things right, you know, and I have a lot of belief in what we're doing now. So I'm hoping to just bridge some of those gaps between me and the best guys, you know, and hopefully do some real damage at the Commonwealth Games next year.
Is there a calmness that comes with being, I guess, now almost an elder statesman of that team? Like if you look back at that relay team at Tokyo, it's very different to like a couple of those guys are still kicking about, but a lot of that track team is now moved on. Is there a sense you have of, is there a calmness you have to the craft that comes to the craft after sort of 4 or 5 years, two Olympics? This will be a third Common Games, is that right?
Yeah.
Gold Coast, Delhi, no, not Delhi, Gold
Coast, Birmingham,
Glasgow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a calmness there? Is there a sense of
like
assuredness?
serendipity or something? Yeah, I think so. I definitely understand myself a lot better now, and you know, I've been through the ringer, and I've been to enough championships to understand it. Hopefully, I can provide some mentorship for some of the younger, talented guys coming through. But yeah, I mean, it's been great just being re-involved in the relay team this year, and I think that the prospects for the team are really, really good. We haven't really had that before. We haven't had the depth of talent, and you know, the guys who can back up, you know, like come off the bench to sub in, who are going to be really quality too. So yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting, and I actually have really enjoyed finding like a bit of a team element in the sport, because I was a team sports guy growing up. Like I loved that, and then you go into this individual sport. You know, it's not like I was one of these like homeschooled tennis kids who was just like a brat and, you know, put into tennis, you know, my whole life.
You came out of rugby.
Yeah. And played other sports as well. And so, you know, I love that. And the funny thing about the 4x1 is that you kind of get these like like it's a team sport, but you get these 4 individuals together for it who are usually competitive.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like team sport with a caveat or something, you know? But the culture's been great. Like all the guys have been great, really accepting of me coming back into the fold.
Speaking of coming back to the fold, let's talk about Com Games last time round. What goes through your head in that moment of, run me through, I guess, that, so break that down of that handover and what your response is to that mentally?
I mean, look, when the Commonwealth Games in 2022, when I fell over, got the team DQ'd, mate, it was without a doubt the most humiliating moment of my life. And I think, like, if you go out in the 100 metres, you get DQ'd, you have yourself to blame, but you're the only person who suffers. I think being, like, solely responsible for a team getting disqualified makes it sting that much more. And the guys were all great about it, you know, because they would have had every right to be pissed at me. They handled it very, very graciously, which I was appreciative of. But look, I mean, afterwards, I just wanted to get out of the village.
Yeah.
I wanted to go and stay with my family and just keep a low profile and like pull my cap down and kind of like melt into the wallpaper, you know. But it taught me a lot. I wouldn't, you know, I'm sorry it had to happen. I'm sorry that it happened because of how it affected the other guys, but like it was such a formative moment in my life because, like I said, I was totally embarrassed. Like that was the overwhelming feeling.
Forgive me for a second, but is it a thing? You drop battens. You I guess falling over the, I guess handover issues, so to speak. Is that in sprinting? Is that a thing that's considered like, oh, shit happens. Sometimes you get run out backing up. Sometimes you leave a straight one. Sometimes whatever. Or is it a case of like, oh, it's considered like these are the little things these are the things you should be doing. It shouldn't happen.
Well, I think that at some level, and this wouldn't be the standard in the Australian team, but like at some level, broadly speaking about the relay, baton, like issues the changeover or drop battens is kind of par for the course, like it happens. But in this particular circumstance, it certainly wasn't the case, just simply because I'd like just tripped over thin air.
Yeah.
You know, like I think it was more like a black swan event.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you, I've done that many, you know, probably thousands of 3-point starts in my life. I've never fallen over except for that day, and never since. And I probably never will again. You know, touch
Just
wood.
one of those things.
But it was just this freak event, and it happened in front of like 40,000 people on TV, and it wasn't even in the individual event. It was, you know, with these other guys sort of depending on me. And like I sucked so hard that day, and you know, like it just. But I think what I realized was, and the reason it was so formative was because very quickly I realized that nobody else recognized the shame that I felt. Like nobody cared. Like the guys in the team cared, you know, but like even they didn't care as much as I did. And anybody who like would get on Twitter and say something or like criticize me or like call me whatever, none of them even cared as much as I did. So I think in sport you can be your own harshest critic, and that experience really made me feel quite impervious to criticism.
Are you tuned into that? Like, especially, I guess, online, I guess every athlete has different, like, philosophies on this, but I feel like increasingly you can't not be tuned into this online.
Yeah, at some level. It's hard to block out entirely, I think, because you just kind of, like, it seeps through, or, like, you know, even, like, well-meaning family members might screenshot something and send it to you and be like, oh, look what this person wrote, like, what a knob. And you're like, I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
But it really made me impervious to that because I just realized, I think I always maintained a good sense of humor about it. Like it wasn't funny, but there was always a funny side to it. And you know, like maybe it becomes a pub trivia question one day or something, you know. And again, I think just embracing the challenges of career in sport and being the man in the arena, so to say, I appreciated that. And I just kind of, at some level, appreciated that not many people experience something like this. And so I'm kind of not lucky, but like, I'm fine. You know, like I'm fine and life goes on. And nobody really cares. Yeah, it's a proper yarn. And yeah, so look, I think I've always been good at just not letting shit affect me. I don't really take stuff too serious. I don't really take stuff to heart. And I think that has been a real product of sport. But certainly in the immediate aftermath of that, you know, I was pretty sensitive. Like I was feeling pretty sensitive about it. I just wanted to keep a low profile and like be with my family.
The jokes in the group chat you don't want to see them. You don't want to read them.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But like I said, I always maintained that there was like a funny side. Like that's also just been my family. Like I think my dad would have been straight into me, you know, just giving me shit, and my uncles and stuff. And like, you got to be able to laugh at yourself. I just think it's so important.
I guess, and we spoken about outside of running a little bit today, I guess, is there a sense of what, and I'm acutely conscious that, like we mentioned, sprinting has like a relatively short time or career span, much like swimming or something. It's not necessarily something you do from, 18 to 40. Is there a sense of what you want life after running, life after track and field? Especially considering, I guess, that retirement conversation. Or I say retirement conversation. I'm making it sound like this is a retirement announcement. It's not.
Look, I see more years in the sport for me as long as I'm improving and I have the belief that I can be world class. You know, I don't have to be there yet. Like these can still be like formative development years, even though I'm like 27, with the hope of reaching that peak at some point. I think for me, as long as I don't fall into the trap of being like deluded and holding on to, the past or something, and to prepare for a future that like doesn't exist. But I don't think I am that kind of person. I know myself quite well. I think I'm honest with myself, and I think that in terms of opportunity post sport, the jury's out on what that would look like. But like I wanted to be a barrister.
Yeah.
For a while, but only ever after I watched Rake.
That's such an indictment of it's such an indictment of our legal education. We saw Rake and we were like,
I want to be like that. No,
I want to be like that guy. I guess for listeners who aren't familiar with Rake, it's an Australian TV show about a dead shit Sydney barrister who is fueled by nothing but
like womanizing and drugs and alcohol.
Yeah,
he's like
that's what fuels
dysfunctional. Yeah, he's just like this dysfunctional character, but he's very like charming and likable and one of the best TV shows. Honestly, one of my favorite TV shows.
It is actually. It's and it doesn't hurt that it again it does that Australian Sydney thing of it has a lot of touch points. So
I love it. I mean, do you follow Retro Sydney on Instagram?
Yes, exactly right.
I love all these. I love that. Especially when I'm overseas.
Yeah, that grounds you a bit.
Massively. One of my guilty pleasures when I'm overseas for a long stint is I'll go on YouTube. It's pretty embarrassing, but I'll go on YouTube and watch vlogs
of tourists in Australia.
Yeah, in Sydney, because I just miss it. I love it so much. And usually I'll have to skip the makeup tutorial at the start of it, and then they go and get matcha somewhere, which I would never do. Yeah, exactly. I just skip it, and then I just get to the cut scenes of the opera house and I don't know, Bondi Beach or whatever.
You couldn't live anywhere else. There isn't a sense of I don't know whether this is the case for sprinting, but is there a central city that is better for, it seems like Queensland and Queensland in particular are pumping out all of these runners. Is there a sense of would you live anywhere other than City, be based anywhere other?
Oh man, I wouldn't.
Or another city anyway?
I'm so established here and I just love it. It's just, I think it's I think Sydney as a city has the best balance of aspiration and lifestyle of any sort of major global city. You wouldn't catch me in Brisbane. You wouldn't.
You say that with such a tone. Fucking cane toads.
You wouldn't say me that. But I mean, I think also at this sort of age and stage of life, a lot of people I went to uni with are now moving to London, New York. But I think I get to sort of scratch that Antipodean itch because I get to spend 3-4 months a year in Europe, traveling or we base out of Italy traditionally, near Milan, and
it's a good Instagram. It's a solid.
It's a great aesthetic.
It's a solid post every year.
It's a great aesthetic.
You open up right and you're like, oh, Amalfi. Oh, okay, must be nice.
Yeah, and it's look, the actual day to day is I go to the facility and then I train and then you have lunch and a nap and then you go back to the facility and then you do ice bath or needling or massage or whatever and then you cook dinner and you go to bed. It's nothing really glamorous, but the reality is you're 45-minute drive from Lake Como. You're 2 hours from Portofino, 45 minutes to the Swiss border, going to Lugano. It's just a beautiful part of the world. And that was the other thing I think when I was toying with retirement, and I was kind of excited by the thought that it's not that common. Maybe it is more common, I guess, if you go back to study later in life or in your late 20s, but to be at a point in your late 20s where you can say, I want to start something new. And then there's this many opportunities or you can kind of write your own adventure. What do I want to do? Where do I want to start? Where do I want to put my energy? And that's kind of an exciting thing. But I think right now for me, being able to travel and have that sort of cultural experience, I just love that. And I don't want to give it up until and I'll give it up eventually, kicking and screaming.
While we're young and while we can enjoy it.
Yeah.
Is there a difference in, I guess, training philosophy or so on that you pick up, I guess, particularly from the Italians if you're based over there while you're there? Is there a difference in how they do things that you notice between there and Australia?
I mean, to be honest, we're actually kind of siloed when we're there because we train at an Australian-run institute. It's an extension of it's the European Training Centre for the AIS.
Yeah, right.
So it's actually all Australians there. So you'd stay in this little town. It's called Gavarate. It's an hour out of Milan. Small town. Most of the people there don't speak any English. It's just locals and Australian rowers and track and field athletes.
Who don't speak any Italian, presumably.
Yeah. So it's actually funny. There's not a single tourist in sight. It's just all these Australian athletes and local Italian people. And I mean, the things so I'm not actually training with Italians per se, but I think there's definitely different methodologies. Like the Jamaicans train usually different to the Americans, train differently to like, you know, how like the Italian guys who live and train in Italy train, and the guys in the UK are different again.
Are you able to pick up meaningfully, I guess, bits and pieces of that? Or is it a case of, well, the Jamaican philosophy has to be taken as one and the American philosophy has to be, whatever that is, and I'm curious to hear what they are. The American philosophy has to be taken as one and the British philosophy has to be taken as one, or are there bits and pieces you can pull?
I mean, I think you can pull little bits, but you can't, like, it all needs to be under one consistent philosophy, because if you just took too many little pieces from too many different sources of inspiration, you'd end up with this like fucked chimera of like, well, sorry, maybe I can't say that on the podcast, but
no,
this like...
I'm the editor, I can say, but it's fine.
You know, you end up with this like horrible bastardized like Frankenstein program that just would like be incoherent. So, little bits and pieces, like the Italians, where it's really obvious often is in the way that they do therapy. Like the Australian physio mentality usually is just like belt it, like just massage, like strip the muscle, needle, like just belt the muscle and then force it to detone. You know, and that I respond really well to that. It makes treatments very stressful, but like, and you get this like cooked parasympathetic response where you're like sweating
in the massage.
You're like sweating out of your hands and your feet, and you get up and the table's like drenched. It's disgusting. But the Italians do this more like fluid, jointy, moby thing, and then they probably like have a glass of red wine and a cigarette. Like, you know, it's like it's such a better vibe. But I mean, look, honestly, like I think to your question earlier about retirement. Look, I think my end goal in life is to just be like an old Italian man. So whatever.
I thought that might be the case. Glenn Maxwell talks about, like, you'll never catch me, like, playing cricket in my 40s. Like, I'll be fat and old and on the couch.
Yeah, but, like, these guys aren't fat and on the couch. They're, like, in the sun at the beach, like, eating fresh tomatoes and, like, mozzarella. You know, like, they just have a great appreciation for the simple things, and they're, like, just happy people, healthy people, too. So whatever can get me to that station in life, I think that's the path I want to go down. That's my North Star, is to be like an old Italian man.
I wonder, there's a sliding doors moment somewhere in law school for you where you go, this is what I want, and not the bar, or not a corporate not cadetship, what do they call them? These are clerkships.
But I also think like some of it is kind of structural. I mean, that path now is kind of closed to me. Simply because, like, I'm sure I could apply for a grad role, but like, do I really want to go run until maybe, like, I don't know, say hypothetically LA, I'm 30, and then I'm like applying to do grad roles and like with 21-year-olds, I'm 30, like, and I feel like an undercover cop.
Yeah.
Like, that would be terrible. You could do it, but, you know...
What do you get out of it?
Yeah, I probably don't want to do it. In fact, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, I think with sport as well, I benefited from being able to develop a really robust, like, network of people. Because I think if you just have some sort of, like, personal brand or any sort of recognizability, people just are more generous with their time.
Yeah, I've definitely found that I've been really surprised. I remember taking my first journo job, and it was in Grafton, it was in the middle of nowhere. But the amount of times that there'd be some sort of local scandal going on of whatever it might be, and people would voluntarily come up to you and tell you what you wanted to know or what you were looking for, something that might help you. And I would sit there bemused because I'd never had a journo job before, and I didn't realise that people want to tell their stories. People really want to engage with you, and they will go out of their way to, and like that's what this is based on. Like anyone who leaks anything ever to me, I sit there and I go, why are you telling me this? Like you really shouldn't be telling me this. You know that
you're love of the game.
Love of the game. Yeah, genuinely, people have like an inherent love of the game. Yeah. They absolutely love it. They love
maybe like, stick the knife in even like.
Yeah, literally, they want to stick the knife in. If it's politics, they want to stick the knife in, or they want to feel involved. They want to feel like their story is important, and so they want to like tell whatever they tell you. They know will be amplified, and whatever their angle is will be amplified by nature of them telling it to you. And so they want that. And I feel like there's an element of that in it, right?
Yeah. Why do you think I'm on the pod? Just for the love of sound of my own voice and talking about myself.
It's oh man, the where was I going to go with this? We got actually let's get spicy. Why not? Okay, let's do it.
Sure.
So what, in about February this year, and I should have written this down, but I didn't. So you can massage the tone of what I'm about to say. You posted on Instagram and you wrote something to the effect of like, what's with all these running influencers these days? I believe the word you used was unathletic, which got a bit of heat. I guess, and the crux of it was, and feel free to correct me, this idea that there are lots of influencers, particularly in running and fitness, that have sort of popped up, and that everyone's an expert now, and all you need to be an expert is a camera and a mic. But is there a sense you get invariably so many more of these accounts are like sport specific now, and it's like, this is why you need to sign up to my training program to be a better footballer, or a better cricketer, or a better whatever. Is there a messiness you see for athletes in terms of, I guess, information overload?
Yeah, but I think that was sort of less to my point and more like the general trend was what I took umbrage with. So I mean, maybe saying unathletic was like a bit ungenerous or like, but it wasn't meant to be cruel. It's just like something to cut through the noise a little bit. And I can't even remember what I'd seen, but I think I'd noticed this trend happening pretty broadly, and it just pissed me off, and I felt like I had standing to comment on it.
Yeah.
And so I did, so I think that's probably why I decided to pick that battle.
Yeah.
And like, it got mixed reactions. A lot of people were in agreement, and some people weren't. Like, some people, I think, took it quite badly. Even like my brother had a crack at me, was like, mate, this is like...
Yeah, I was going to say, did you get like negative feedback that you didn't expect, or from places you didn't expect?
From some people, but it was drowned out by the sort of the affirmation of what I'd said. But like, yeah, even my brother had a crack and was like, oh, this is sort of like... I can't remember what he said, but it was something to the effect of, like, let people post their journey, and like this like tall poppy syndrome, or like this is like being negative or toxic or something like that. But I think my point, if I could distill it down, was really just this, which is traditionally people would get advice from experts, and even fame was linked to having some sort of like credibility, which you really had to earn. But I think now the social media environment is very different, and broadly people start with brand first rather than expertise. And I hate it, because, and I really think that the rise of the running influencer is just the new medium. It's not so much about that as much as it's about the trend of people trying to like co-opt areas or hobbies or whatever that they don't know anything about, and then try to launch, like start with brand and then build a profile off the back of that. Because I think for a lot of these people, they're not driven by principles or values or anything. They're driven, like, their mastery is virality. And so they're very mercenary. Like, they'll just post whatever is inclined to go viral. And that is like garbage. Usually it's like, like rage bait, or something that is so saccharine, sweet, and kind of like disgustingly sweet that it's, you shouldn't look at it for a bit, or it's like horny shit. It's like, it's not like good quality, thoughtful, like long format content. Maybe I'm lamenting something too broadly, too large and broad to even sort of approach. But I see that distilled very clearly in running, and I despise it, because I think there's two sides to it. On the one hand, there's that sort of just general resentment of that trend, which ties in with the fact that people consuming content, but they don't really, I think they're not really doing it of their own volition and free will, like, because you get fed content based on its virality. Like, it's all algorithmic. So people are absorbing like bad advice, and then if that is being then used to build a brand, to sell a program and monetize off of it, then I just think it's a bit deplorable. And I mean, look, I think there is this general attitude out there now that's like, if you're making money out of it and it's, there's an appetite for it, demand, then that vindicates it, like justifies its existence. But I just disagree with that. I think that people can sell shit, and I'm not on board with it. I see it in running really specifically. And the other side to it is, and this is specific to running, which is like one of my best mates got a stress fracture in his femur running like low K weeks. He was doing like 20, 25K weeks or something. So I think like when people are giving or dispensing or selling, which is worse, garbage advice, and they don't know what they're talking about, there are real consequences that can flow from that. Like load management is a real important thing. You can't just go from being sedentary to like running 20K weeks, 50K weeks. Like you got to build up to it. You got to, have that managed. And I just think, look, for me as an athlete, my whole career, I have delegated areas to like experts. So I work with a biomechanist, I have a coach, I have a dietitian, I have a physio, I have a massage therapist. There was a period I was working with a physiologist. Like, that's 6 different people, and they're experts in their field. And I think just go to the experts, not, maybe the end consumer actually is responsible for it, but I think also they're just kind of like fed garbage through the algorithm. But like, I think it's important for people to go to the experts and think critically about what you're consuming.
I guess like you mentioned, and you're right, the algorithm fundamentally like promotes shit and it promotes slop. Is there a sense of, because long form stuff doesn't do well, stuff that is over a certain attention span doesn't do well, so on and so forth. We will inevitably get stats on the point at which people stop listening to you in this podcast.
Yeah, they've probably stopped already. Exactly. I can probably say whatever I want.
Exactly right. But like, is there an alternate? Is there an alternate world out in your mind? Do you think there's a? I hate to bring it back to like the market dynamics of it, because we've already like you say, sort of that doesn't justify it. But is there a world in which you think something informs something longer form? Is there a world in which that can thrive and be, I guess, we can make content good, make content great again,
Make content great again. Man, I don't know. I mean,
brain's just too fucked. And you can swear on this. I've made the executive decision now.
Yeah, our brain's maybe too fucked. But also this stuff's designed for that, right? Like even just this new Meta app, like the AI app. Like you will not catch me on that. I don't need to sit there absorbing like AI videos that aren't even real. Like I feel like the biggest moron when I watch a video and I think it's funny and then I realize in the comments people are like AI.
Yeah, you feel taken.
Yeah, I feel like a fool. And it's like, fool me once, and then like fool me twice. But I think, I don't know. And look, to that point, maybe I'm just complaining about something that is just happening no matter what. And I'm like an angry old man. I'm like, the world used to be better. And social media used to be better when people would be like posting on Facebook, like for TBH. And then,
your mate's at a new girl.
Your mate at a new girl,
yeah. You got comments.
And everybody will comment. Like, that was like peak social media then. But like,
so this is the one you were telling us about.
Exactly. So, I mean,
I thought she was blonde.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's just peak humor as well, and but yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Look, it's not like I'm proposing a solution, but I guess I was just in a bad mood, and I had an outlet.
Teed off
in Instagram stories.
Did you get affirmation from, I guess, someone who? I guess you did get affirmation from. Was there a surprising source of affirmation?
Yeah, massively.
Didn't expect to agree with you?
Massively. I think the only sort of counterpoint that maybe that I would consider is like if people are just posting, they're honest about like, this is me on my journey. You know, like, oh, like I'm gonna start running and get fit. Like I love those accounts where people are just posting, they're like, this is day one getting fit. You know, maybe they're like in a very unhealthy way and they want to improve their life. That's great. I think that's brilliant. For me, it's just the sort of, there's like a dishonor or like a dishonesty in like sort of purporting,
Monetizing it.
like just purporting to be like an expert or, you know, like the vibe or something, and like you're actually just not that. And, you know, like, because specifically to running, like there are a lot of great world-class runners in this country, like Jess Hull, Ollie Hoare, Cam Myers, like,
Do you follow the long distance
them.
stuff as well? Is running it's not like, my partner's a biologist and so is my mum, and I don't want to psychoanalyze that too much, but turns out my partner's in trees, my mum's in grass. Turns out grass and tree people don't talk to each other.
So right.
Is there a sense
That's
of
quite
like
fascinating.
Is there a similar sort of schism in running where, like, you know, sprinters and distance runners or
Like
middle
grass,
distance runners?
like grass and tree people.
Grass and tree people. Bowlers and
Nah,
batters.
it's not really. But the only thing would just be, because you come together in a team environment at a major championship and like spend time, and you see people on the circuit. Like, so across events, people all know each other. It's like pretty. The sport is a pretty good community. I'd be more likely to hang out with, like, generally with a distance runner than another sprinter, because the culture in the sprints is a bit more like combative, or like, I don't know, like you're probably just not going to be super tight with someone that you're competing with, like, you know, because it's zero sum, like you win or lose. But the distance runners would just generally spend more time at altitude camps, so like they're a bit more sequestered. Yeah, like they're training at like Chamonix or, you know, in Falls Creek or something. So they're kind of like.
But yeah, sorry, you were saying that there's lots of great runners in this country. Sorry.
Yeah, like, and maybe the great runners as well. Maybe they're not like putting their effort into producing content for people to consume. So, you know, that's also a fair counterpoint, I think. But I don't know. Like, if I was trying to train for a triathlon, I'm not going to go to one of these like triathlon influencers who are just like nobodies in the sport. Like they're just like image driven but built on no basis. I'm gonna go follow Matt Hauser, the world champ. You know, like, and I'm gonna try to like follow that.
And his qualifications are he's the world champ. Like
100%. So yeah, I think that was sort of my point. And like, I don't know, maybe I kind of strawmanned it a bit, but I don't know, you just see it in running a lot. And, you know, because it probably also coincides with like boom of running brands that are selling like heaps of shit, and some of it's cool. Like a lot of it is actually really cool stuff. There's lots of cool brands out there doing stuff, and yeah, especially Puma #1.
there it is.
And also True Protein equal #1. But
I'm not gonna lie to you. This is obviously not sponsored in any way, but I was not a protein powder person. The first time I ever bought, you don't know this, the first time I ever bought protein powder was I think presumably soon after you signed a deal, and I was like, that you had the Instagram layout just right, and I was like, right, okay, there it is. And I didn't realize, because it was the only protein powder I never bought,
successfully influenced.
It was fucking expensive. I didn't realize this, and now when I saw it in Harris Farm, I was like, hang on a second.
Well, you should have waited till the Black Friday sale, and then you would have got 50% off. I mean, look, maybe I am. I think I do have a strong, angry inner old man. And I'm like probably a bit of a Luddite and maybe a bit of an old soul at some level. I'm sitting here with boat shoes and shit on, pleated pants and shit. But I like...
You're a big front office type operator. The loose pants and the... Is that your vibe?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I just think like we've sort of veered down this rabbit hole now, but I mean to the point about like the sort of the influencer environment. I think that the algorithm just virality just has this like converging impact on like individuality and like choice and what people consume and wear and do, because like I don't know. I think it's a hard time to be a teenager, because probably like it's hard, life's. I remember what it's like to be an angsty teen, and I wasn't a particularly angsty person. You know, I was like in high school. I was at a boys' school. I had like cystic acne, but like I never cared because I was like just at a boys' school. I was playing sports and having fun with
you
my
could
mates.
run fucking fast.
Well, that's true too. That's true too. So that, you know, but
That solves all life's problems. Is
being the fastest kid on the playground.
Being fastest guy in school.
But I mean, yeah, I think it would be hard today, and I just think life's much more enjoyable when you just figure out what you like and do what you like, and like kind of fuck whatever people think about it. And I think it'd be hard. I think you see this convergence of influence today with like a lot of like young people. Everyone has the same haircut and wear the same clothes and like the same jorts or whatever. I don't know, like yeah. And it's all just. I think it's
Melbourne.
all.
Yeah. You go down for Murray Planet, it's just guys competing in jorts.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Don't go into Melbourne. My brother lives in Melbourne, actually.
I'm a Victorian. There'll be an editor's note on this. I guess I'm curious now because we talk about like the other side of this that we've sort of left out is like platforms and athletes and you know, do you have an imperative to speak out, use your platform, blah 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 blah. Is there and now I've mocked the question, but that's exactly what my question was going to be. Is there an imperative on you? Do you feel, for want of a better phrase, a duty to sort of speak about whatever, you know, your Gazas of the world, or your, you know, there's a policy or there's something happening domestically, politically. Do you feel like there's an imperative on you to say something, do something by virtue of you being someone with a platform, B, a sporting platform?
I don't think that there's an imperative, and I don't think that for there to be one would be like necessarily a healthy thing, because I don't think you want to like, to my point earlier, I don't think you want to encourage non-experts to try to like weigh in on conversations that require expert opinion. You know, but I think that, having said that, you know, like one of my favorite all-time athletes, David Pocock, you know, and I think he's very principled and value-driven. He's
gonna love this. He's
brilliant.
A friend of Crikey.
Like, he's a weapon. Like look at the guy. Like he's got world's craziest rig, former Wallaby captain, like
the
strong independent
biggest hands
senator.
I've ever shaken.
Like dinner plates, I'm sure.
Absolute mitts.
And like he's a real man, you know. And like, but he's just, I don't know. Like, obviously he's a great athlete. He's obviously a very principally driven person. I think you want to be. I think you also just want to be. I think if you choose to pursue a cause, you want to be like, you don't want to dilute that messaging. So I don't think it's imperative of athletes to like comment on everything or anything in particular unless it's particularly relevant to their life or sport. I think it's also a bad precedent. Like, do you want every rugby league, every player in the NRL, like comment, or, you know, in the AFL, something like commenting on various court? Like, it's just, I don't think it contributes to the discourse necessarily, unless they have something particularly insightful to say. But I don't think you want to like encourage anti-insightful commentary on complex things, or and that's not to talk about any particular issue, but just like anything political in the world, unless it, you know, it's going to contribute something to the discourse.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's my feeling.
Is there, and I guess this is, where I was thinking. I told you this was going to be a question without notice. It's now naturally a question with notice. Has that colour your view on how you speak about things online? I guess there's a sort of a discourse over the last 2 or 3 years vis-a-vis what's happening in the Middle East, but broadly, like, there's obviously a new administration that will be administering the next Olympics. Is there, I guess, a sense of, does that colour, I guess, how you feel you move in public spaces?
No. I think, look, honestly, I think from the perspective of an athlete, when you commit your life to something that is just very discreet, like a very discreet activity, in that it's like, it's kind of open shut. It's like, just run as fast as you can. You just tend not to try to be too, like, you want to minimize distractions. And I think that's sort of that's kind of like the basis that you would like start at. And then if you wanted to like talk about a political issue or something, you know, it's going to be obviously draining on your energy, or, you know, like it's going to be a distraction to the main goal of like whatever the sport performance is. That's something you decide for yourself. And so I have given no thought at all to whatever administration is running the US at the time of the LA Olympics. Like, honestly, I haven't. This is the first time I actually ever considered that. Yeah, I think like as long as the Olympics goes ahead, first challenge is qualifying, and then you got to be there and then be really competitive there.
Outside of running, what keeps you grounded? Is there a hobby or an interest that I guess would surprise people? Because what I see is a blue Range Rover.
Yeah.
Kicking around.
Yeah, I just love these old Land Rovers, and a couple of my mates are into it as well. And I just try to learn to do some basic mechanical stuff myself. Nothing too onerous, I guess, or physical even. But yeah, I try to like just replace things myself. Like I've replaced a few little simple things like the window motor and like
That's not that simple. You're taking things off doors and...
Yeah, but it's all just like nuts and bolts, and then getting like elbow deep into the door panel and doing stuff like that. But yeah, I really enjoy doing that, and I try to go to the beach as much as possible. And like I'm just lucky that I got great mates as well around me and family. So honestly, for the time that I'm away, that can be quite lonely time because, you know, I'll be staying in a little apartment on my own in Italy, and like you're out of time zone, and you know, you're just there kind of like training. I think it really like everything is just titrated down to like the sport all the time, and that can be a bit much. But it's only for like the business end of the year, which is also coincides with the European summer, which is dope.
Have you got... Now I'm thinking about like granular like diet and process. Again, I'll come back to this process thing of like footy players, depending on who you are, and I wonder whether this is the same in the sprinting world, because you seem quite, for want of a better phrase, neurotic about like every little thing is planned, very meticulous. Is there... Like, I guess, do you drink in season? Like, is that a thing of, like, are you, like, some footy players go, and this is, I guess, the best exposure that the punter has to this kind of conversation around diet is, like, and I'm thinking Aussie rules players in particular are, like, there's a list of guys who can go out on a Friday night and drink, and there's a list of guys who can drink on a Saturday, and there's a list of guys who can drink on a Sunday, depending on the nature of who's got an injury, who's got what, who's got, you know, whether there's a 5-day break, 6-day break, 7-day break, whatever. And if you're breaching that, then that's the tabloids are all over it. But then you see some people in other sports who are like, I finish every week with a beer, or whatever it might be. I know a guy who didn't drink, didn't have his first drink till he was 22 because he was trying to get drafted to the AFL. And he did get drafted. Played one game, did his AC, never played again. Poor bastard. But lovely bloke. But it was just one of those things of like, I guess the relationship with alcohol is so, it feels nebulous, even though the sports science is quite straightforward.
Clear. Sure.
Is there a sense of like, do you drink in season?
From time to time. But like, I'm not going to get like shit faced.
Yeah, of course.
You know, like I'm not going to have a skinful. But I mean, it would just depend on where the training load's at, competitions. I would almost always have a beer after a comp.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to, like, unless I have to back up, like, unless I'm doing the European circuit, I got another meet in a few days, and I need to, like, be on top of it. Usually after a comp, I would have a pretty light training week.
Yeah.
And I'm going to sleep terribly anyway, because I'm going to be all jacked up on caffeine and stuff from the race, so, in, like, adrenaline.
How much caffeine are you consuming?
Oh, man, I would
Is it all just pre-workout, or is it?
No, it's coffee mainly, or, like, sometimes I'll take no-dos before a race, but... But like I'm not sensitive to it at all. Like I would drink 8 shots of espresso a day. Like
is
every day.
That's well,
Like four double espressos probably.
450-ish mils, give or take, of caffeine.
Yeah, but then there was like a period before races. I like try to really max the caffeine. I was taking like 5 no-dos before a race.
That's extraordinary.
But it wasn't. It wasn't like making my heart beat out of my chest or anything. I really didn't get a very acute response to it. Maybe I just completely blunted my my response to it.
That's what I'm curious about, because my understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong here, that essentially the science on this is that caffeine's fantastic as far as anaerobic performance is concerned.
Yeah, and I think for aerobic, more for aerobic. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, for strength and power, I think also quite effective. I just love coffee. Like, so I just drink, like, and I train in the morning. So I would wake up, have a double espresso, make breakfast, have another double espresso, go to the track. Maybe I'd have another one before training, or maybe not, and then have one when I get home, or maybe I'd have it with some milk. But I just drink predominantly black coffee.
See, maybe this is where I'm missing out. My Crete teammates used to make fun of me because I was a Red Bull guy.
Okay.
And obviously it's a lot of liquid. If you're trying to consume this, the equivalent amount of caffeine, it's a lot of liquid. And so Jamie Vardy used to. Have you heard the stories about Jamie Vardy in Red Bull? No. He would wake up with a Red Bull, and now it doesn't. Now it sounds like nothing. I feel like it's far less impressive now after having had a conversation with a bloke who's on 8 coffees a day.
Yeah.
But like Jamie Vardy would get up, sink a Red Bull sort of by his bedside table. He'd have a Red Bull with breakfast, and then he'd have a Red Bull in the warm up, and then he would get to halftime and he would be sipping on port at halftime. I don't know.
On port?
Yeah. It was insane.
That's chat.
It was an extraordinary amount of caffeine, I thought, like 3 Red Bulls.
Yeah, I mean, but like my thing is, honestly, the biggest thing I've changed in recent years with my diet has been eating for the gut microbiome. There's a few reasons for it, but my question would just be like, is that good for you? Like that many Red Bulls? I don't know. Whereas coffee at least is like going to proliferate this like certain type of gut microbe, whatever it's called. I can't remember what it is. I don't want to butcher it, but like it feeds on like caffeine, on coffee, and it's so like
Okay, so there's a thought process. It's not caffeine for caffeine's sake. It's coffee for.
No, sorry.
There's a double-edged sword there.
Well, that's like a retrospective justification of like the fact just me drinking it because I like it. Yeah, and it makes me feel good, and I train well on it, and yeah. But there's also this like ancillary like health benefit, that you're probably not going to get with something a can.
Yeah. Okay, that makes great. This will end up in front of Crete teammates, and there'll be a conversation. It'll be great.
So they were drinking espressos, very sophisticated in the sheds before. No.
Like the dirty sort of energy drink habits of Sydney University 6th grade is like guys messaging the group chat on their way to a game being like, here's, V or Monster's new flavour. Thoughts on white peach.
We're probably also talking about a class of athlete that is
very different.
And very hungover, I would assume.
Deeply hungover, except for the one. So one of them was hungover. The other one, who is now hooked on the energy drinks, was like a 15-year-old kid. Very good grooter. But it was not good.
I mean, look, people have their vices in life, and like I'm not going to begrudge people their vices. Like I had a class once, and
here we go. Well, here's the good stuff.
There was just this like, and sometimes you see these people from time to time, but this woman would just come into the class with like 1.5 litre of Coke.
Oh my God.
And just drink it throughout the whole class. And she was like incredibly lithe, like she was not like obese as you might expect, right? But like, I just don't know how you can do that to yourself.
You get such rogue operators was this in law school?
It was at uni.
Somewhere.
It was at uni, yeah.
It was, oh gosh, you get such rogue operators in these classes.
Completely.
Oh my God. I'm thinking now, and now I'm actually going to tell the story, because of how we met. You're aware of this story, of course, but
you clocked me in there.
The listeners will enjoy it as we head into Crete season. But I was sat at the back of a legal ethics class. It was the legal profession. I was sat at the back of the class, and there's a guy sitting in front, and I actually didn't know who you were. because we were same year at uni, but separate circles, right? And I'm sat at the back of the class, and my mate taps me on the shoulder and goes, "Hey, that bloke's watching state cricket. That bloke's watching Tasmania versus New South Wales in the Marsh One Day Cup," I think is what it was then called. And
Yeah, not very ethical of me.
no, exactly. It's like we're more dedicated to the health of domestic cricket, which is important, of course. And he goes, and I was like, "Oh, that's funny. That bloke's watching state cricket in class. So am I." And he goes, "Do you know who that is?" And I go, "No." He goes, "That's the fastest guy in the country. He's gonna." And this is like ahead of Tokyo. This is maybe a couple of months out from Tokyo, and he's like, "That guy's gonna go to Tokyo. He's gonna run the 100 meters." And I was like, "Oh shit." And posted on a meme page that I used to run, and by the end of the class, it had made its way back to you.
Yeah, no, I'm like looking around like, what's going on? But yeah, and by the way, I never watched state cricket. Like that was like a one of one.
Oh, really?
That I got clocked, and literally I was just like, how did I get clocked doing this? And now I'm on a meme page.
You a big? Is that a big thing for you? Did you play?
No, I never had the attention span for cricket.
Oh really?
I did play one season, but it was not going to be my sport of choice.
No. Just a watcher, not a
fan.
fan.
Like I keep a loose eye on. I mean, I love Australian sports, and I just like keeping an eye on everything that's going on. But yeah, I'd be lying if I said I follow cricket that closely.
You're a rugby guy?
Yeah, I love rugby union.
Yeah.
I love watching the Wallabies. I just love Test rugby. I think that's that would be my poison of choice.
Rohan Browning, thank you so much for joining us on Perceived Pressure, our very first interview. Hopefully many more to come. Hopefully we now have you as friend of the show, friend of the program, and looking forward to the next year ahead and many more very, very fast races and watching you zoom up and down tracks all around the world.
Pleasure's all mine. Glad to be friend of the show.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.